Right, new developments on the report from Congressman Nunes that communications from the Trump team may have been incidentally collected by U.S. intelligence. What he said today, next.
Chairman of the House Intelligence Committee addressed his decision to disclose information about incidental interception of Trump team communications without telling his colleagues first. Listen.
I know they're concerned, and I understand that. I mean, look, that's why I thought it was important yesterday for me to talk to all of you, to say that I was going to go let the president know this before I went over there. It was a judgment call on my part, and that's at the end of the day, that's, you know, sometimes you make the right decision, sometimes you make the wrong one, but you got to stick by the decisions you make.
Representative Nunes maintains there was some kind of incidental collection by U.S. intelligence and says more information will come out hopefully by tomorrow. He privately apologized to his Democratic colleagues today for leaving them in the dark a bit, but that may not be enough for some of them. Here's Ranking Committee member Adam Schiff.
We need to do a real investigation of this, and we need to do it credibly. We can't have our chair acting as a compromise, as a surrogate for the administration. Yeah. He has to either have the surrogate role or the chairman role, but he can't do both.
And KG, in the, I guess he's saying in the interest of transparency, as Greg points out, he went and wanted to get the information out there, and I guess he feels, Schiff feels that he should have, Nunes should have notified the rest of the committee prior to going public.
Right, so saying that it wasn't the right protocol that was followed, that he should have made sure to let them know before he went to the public, but then I guess he apologized for that and said perhaps he should have done it or handled it differently. Nevertheless, that does not affect the content of the information that he was conveying. So now we have to get to the bottom of that and see what other evidence, materializes pursuant to this investigation.
It feels, and he alluded to that, Nunes alluded that there's more coming. It feels like this is just the beginning of the first trickle of maybe a flow of information coming.
It's the incidental collection. That's not the story. It's what happened afterwards with the information. So it's like, here's a simple analogy. Let's say you're in line at confession at St. Gregory's on Hacienda in San Mateo, and your neighbor is confessing in front of you, and you just hear bits and pieces about an act with a gardener. Maybe. It's not your fault you overheard it. That's an incidental collection of information. It's if you broadcast it to your mother's bridge club later, that's the sin. And I think that's what we're talking about here, is that it's not about the collection. That happens to everybody. It's what happened, the dissemination afterwards. And I think that's what you got to focus on. Right, Dana?
Well, I think, but more information, I think, means that both of these stories are going to be fueled. Mm-hmm. And so the underlying questions about collusion, and you've got this alleged collusion with Manafort and former people that were close to Trump on the campaign and running the campaign and what they were doing. And then you had the leaking of the names that were unmasked in the report, or just one, or maybe there was others. I do think that Nunes apologizing to his colleagues was the right thing to do. It really sullied the investigative process. And if they want to keep this on the Hill, which I think they should, if you support President Trump, you should want this to not go to a special prosecutor. They should just figure out a way to work professionally with each other, like the Intelligence Committee always should. Mm-hmm. Just keep it above board. I don't think anyone has anything to worry about in terms of like getting in trouble, except for if you're just constantly trying to help prove them right on this wiretapping or surveillance issue. You're going to actually get eventually to the underlying issue, which is not just why you went. It's why you went to confession in the first place. That's yet another story.
You don't want to know.
Bob,
you'd be there all week.
Yes, would you agree that there's a lot more there coming out of this story?
Oh, I think there's a lot more there about the Russian connection, sure. But I think what
I'm actually talking about the
no, I don't,
legal or less than legal surveillance.
Well, first of all, I mean, let's get back to what Schiff said about Nunes. I mean, you cannot be a surrogate for the White House and chairman of the Intelligence Committee. This is unprecedented in the Intelligence Committees, and I can't for the life of me imagine how the public would take any finding from a Nunes committee-led committee that they would consider to be accurate, fair, and non-Trump. It's got to have a special prosecutor. There's a lot here, and why not get it off the Hill, put it in the hands of a special prosecutor? Why? Because Trump and his people are afraid to death. They're going to find out that the Russians and the Trump team colluded on this election.
Well,
Do
okay.
they need, in fact, a special prosecutor? I would say that they can probably handle this on their own.
I think they can totally handle it on their own, and they just need to like push forward in a professional way, maintain the ethics and the integrity of the investigation, and get to the bottom of it. I mean, American people deserve to know exactly what happened. And there was something interesting in what Nunes reported, saying that the surveillance did not involve the ongoing FBI inquiry into Russia's alleged involvement. So therefore, if they were capturing stuff and some of an American citizen and it did not have, intelligence value, that identity should remain secret and the information should be discarded in this incidental collection.
You think this
Can we
was
throw one more-
professionally done? You think this was professionally done?
Which was?
What Nunes did. I mean, he's getting attacked from left and right at home, and people are saying
Can I say this, Bob? Who leaked Michael Flynn's name?
Who leaked it?
Yeah.
Probably the White House.
Well, why don't we have a special investigator to find out?
Why
who
don't
leaked
we have a
his name?
special prosecutor and get it out of the hands of these right-wing nuts who are doing it?
I mean, you want special prosecutors when you think you've targeted one thing, but you don't want to
What's
unearth
wrong?
what was going on that was illegally
There's
done.
nothing more
His name was
important.
illegally leaked.
Who?
Flynn.